grew up, there wasn't a lot of role models. There wasn't a lot that I could see, like nothing tangible. And I think that's why it's so important for me to come back and speak and share my story with people in Harrisburg, because I understand what Harrisburg is. And I hate to say that, but there aren't, it's not Hollywood, nothing against, not Hollywood. The things that are readily available here are not readily available there. So add to that, being back in like the late 70s, 80s, I mean, it was unheard of. Like, let's just be honest, the only closest we got was TV. That was the closest thing we got to actually what we wanted to do. So in my mind, I just knew that's where I wanted to be. I just kind of knew it, and just tried to live as close to that as possible in a place like Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, making those dreams come true right there as much as I possibly could. And for me, that was like a massive, accomplishment. Like, it was no small thing, like to be able TV in Harrisburg was like, whoa, I did it, like, oh my gosh, I made it. So it was always something I was planning to do or working on somehow. Going to Paris, modeling in Paris, France. I lived over in Paris for 2 years. I took a French class in Foos Elementary in Harrisburg. I learned how to speak French. And literally, I remember being in my class in Harrisburg and seeing a picture of the Arc de Triomphe, which is the arch. A lot of Americans pronounce arch. I remember arch, and I had no idea what it was, where it was. I just knew when I saw that thing in second grade in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, I knew I'm going there. Like, I'm going to go to this place. It could have been up the street. It could have been, it didn't matter. I just knew I'm going to be there. So when I actually made it to Paris, France as a professional model, as a runway model, it was just like the first thing I had to see the moment I landed in France was not the Eiffel Tower. It was literally this monument that I saw. I had to give that second grader in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, I had to give her this, this moment. I had to. So I took some pictures there as well. And that for me was like the iconic seal of approval. I mean, I've modeled for some of the biggest top designers in the world, Iman, Badgley Mishka, Zhang Toy, Peter Som, Charles Nolan, Valentino, and Vince Camuto, Twiggy. I modeled for some of the biggest designers in the world, and nothing compared to that moment when I made it to Paris, France, to stand in front of that art, Arc de Triomphe, and to take pictures there. But the hardest thing for me was trying to still pursue my career, and my son having cancer, which I did talk about previously, and he was going through chemo radiation, and they were talking amputation. We had him at Hershey Med, and Hershey Med was gonna amputate him, so I was able to get him out of the Harrisburg area and take him down Vanderbilt. So, but at the same time, while he was in Vanderbilt getting treated, which was the best, they were the only hospital that knew how to treat his form of cancer, I was still traveling. So I would have to come back and forth, in between that to be with him, in some of his treatments, and just be there for him and try to still keep that strong face, even though internally, I was just dying because this, too much to have to deal with, to be set in 1 second and smiling and, being my character, and then to turn around and have to go back and be a serious mom, and watching him for a moment there, he was not doing well. He was doing he had gotten down to like 140 pounds, and just wither away. I mean, it was not an easy road. So that was by far the hardest part of this journey. I've always been a fan of Marvel. I mean, like, come on, I'm a tomboy. I grew up as a tomboy in Harrisburg. Like, trust me, my brothers are still there in Harrisburg. My brother and my sister are still there. And I would just watch the Marvel cartoons with them, as they were growing up. Really? So this is awesome. Like, are you kidding? And I remember seeing Mystique in the movie X-Men a few years back, and Mystique. And I remember seeing her, and that for me was like the pinnacle of everything, because she was, one, a supermodel, and she was kicking butt, and she was awesome, right? She was blue, and she would transform and she would fight. And I was just like, what is this?
Exactly.
What is this? Like,
right.
I need to do this. What just happened? And that literally Mystique, she changed my life. Like, when I saw that in X-Men, like, I was just like, holy crap, like, we can do that, And from there, it was like, okay, let's do this. So when I came to Hollywood, all Hollywood saw was a model. They were just like, she's a model, she's not an actor, no thanks.
Right.
So I had to up and up. I had to prove to Hollywood that I was actually a serious actress as well. Yes, I'm a model professionally, but I'm also an actress. So what I did was I started doing a lot of stunts, a lot of fighting, like fight sequences. So a lot of my early on movies and roles were fight scenes. They were actually where I was literally physically fighting people. And that kind of catapulted me to get Marvel's attention, which I wasn't looking for specifically, but I was just kind of putting myself out there. I started at, and then Marvel called.
Hey, out of all people.
Marvel called, and it was Captain Marvel. It was Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
And I remember nobody wanted to do it. Like a lot of girls were just like, I'm not putting prosthetics on my face, and I was just like, I'll do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's Marvel, I'll do it, so they called me up, and I made Marvel history. I became the first original Skrull. So with Captain Marvel, the Skrulls were introduced into the MCU, into the universe. So
yeah.
Until they were only in the comic books, they had not come to screen yet. So I the original 9 Skrulls to come. And I also played a couple other characters in that movie. So I was also a Torfin. I was also, sorry, my trash guys.
It's okay.
Also a Torfin. I was and also a lowercase hollow. So in the first 10 minutes of the movie of Captain Marvel, when Jude Law and Brie Larson are talking to each other in the metro, I'm actually standing right behind her.
Wow.
So you see my face, like I don't have prosthetics on, but because I had so much prosthetics on, they could kind of interchangeably put me into the movie. So I was kind of in the movie a lot more than you think, put it that way. I was in there a lot. So the best advice I can definitely give to any potential actors, anybody that wants to be an actress, I would say, without losing your dignity, take some of those jobs that most people won't take. You never know where it's going to land you.
Right.
You never know. Don't think of yourself too high that, oh, I can never do that. That's beneath. Don't ever think like that. You never know who's watching you. You never know who's paying. And by me taking that lower job, I was just excited. I didn't care. I was like, by taking that job, Marvel actually came looking for me last year, around last August, they came looking for me specifically. And they were like, do you want to reprise your character from what you did before with Captain Marvel? And initially I said no. I did turn it down. I actually said no. And I was just like, nah, because when you're wearing prosthetics, it's a lot. That's all day. It's a lot on your face, on you. So I was just like, nah, no thanks. Because I thought more of what I was doing before. I had no idea what they were asking. So I was just like, yeah, no thanks. I'll pass, give it to somebody else. And then I kind of thought about it a couple of days and was like, this is Marvel. What are you doing?
Oh no.
It's stop. What are you doing? So I called him back. Thank God I called him back. And I was like, hey, just kind of had a little off day. Do you mind if I ignore what I said before? And I sent them, I said, do you mind if I submit my information? And they were like, absolutely. So I sent them all my information. And next thing you know, I was auditioning and they told me to part for WandaVision. The pandemic has just completely changed the course of everything for us as actors. So in between takes, I was shooting with Captain Rambeau, which is played by Tiana Parrish. And she and I would wear a face shield, literally just to cover our faces. And literally the rest of the crew would have to keep their mask on. So in between takes, we would take off our mask. We would be the only ones without a mask, basically, during the shooting, the actual, but everyone else had to maintain their mask at all times. So there was plenty of social distancing. We kind of stayed apart. We wanted to, because basically if you don't pass your COVID test, you don't work.
Right. What does that mean to you?
Specifically with Marvel it's like an equal opportunist. I love the fact that Marvel has opened the doors to everyone. Like we have our most recent new Asian superhero,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
incredible, right? So I love that Marvel does that. Marvel is willing to give you an opportunity and a chance, you know, and
Mhm.
that's something I'm definitely impressed by with them. Like all of my coworkers, all my co-stars, they're all different races, you know, genres. I love that about Marvel. So for
Mhm.
me, I just feel right at home right there. But otherwise, I mean, yes, there's a struggle sometimes to be a Black actress, you know,
Right.
but I think life in general is a struggle, you know?
Absolutely.
So if I just make myself, oh, well, as a Black actor, it's tough. If I sit around and just focus just on that, then that's where I'll be. Just focus just on that the rest of my life. Like at some point, you have to continue to move forward.
Right.
Period. Period. It's a struggle regardless. It's going to be a struggle if I'm Black. It's going to be a struggle if I'm white. It's going to be a struggle if I'm a man. It's going to be a struggle if I'm a woman. It is what it is. We have no choice but to keep moving, and
Right.
that's what I've just do.